Welcome back everyone, it is Aric from Rare Candy, and today we're back checking out some more Brilliant Stars decks in action. For today's video, we're going to be checking out, of course, the brand new hyped Arceus VSTAR, and it's going to be facing off against the new Whimsicott VSTAR as well. So both these decks actually were covered on the channel the previous week, so if you guys want to check out the full deck profiles and deck list, I'll put a link to those down below in the description for you to check out when you get a chance. But for today's video, I'm going to be on the left playing the new Arceus VSTAR, and then we have Corey Meesemer, a buddy of mine. He's going to be playing Whimsicott VSTAR over there on the right. So I think on paper, there's definitely some interesting, interactions between both of these decks. The big thing with Corey's deck is that he can shut down my special energies, meaning my double turbo energies, and even the Aurora energies that I play in this list aren't going to be able to be used. But on the flip side, this is kind of like the dark variant of the Arceus deck, plus a couple of my own techs. So I'm going to be able to easily one-shot some of those Shadow Rider Calyrexes that Corey's going to be playing alongside his Whimsicott. So both decks kind of counter each other in certain ways, and I think that might make for an interesting series here. But it looks like Corey's going to go first, and he is opening with that very unfortunate Crobat V. Definitely not the starter he wants to lead the game with, but he does have a Fog Crystal. And for Corey's first turn, he really doesn't need a whole lot. I think he really just wants a Whimsicott V, which he grabbed there with a Fog Crystal, a Shadow Rider Calyrex V, and a manual attachment on his Whimsicott. Because at that point, he's basically threatening the turn 2 attack with his V-Star on the next turn. So he was able to get pretty much everything he wants here for this first turn. If he gets anything else, that's good, but if not, no worries. But from there, he's just going to pass over to me, and I do open with, looks like a Training Court and an Air Balloon. Looks like I'm just playing down my hand a little bit for this Crobat V. So I'm going to draw 2 cards there. And I do find an Umbreon V, but I do draw into a second Arceus VSTAR that I'm going to have to discard. That's definitely a little bit of a rough research, because if I prize my third Arceus, my deck is definitely going to be in some trouble. But I was fortunate enough to find that double turbo energy, so that did kind of make things worth it. I definitely wanted to find that energy before I started to get locked. But I'm going to use the first attack on Arceus V. I get search my deck for 3 basic energies and attach them to my Pokemon V any way that I like. So definitely a strong first turn for my deck, and as you can see, I'm setting up some of these dark attackers. Looks like I'm attaching my energy to Umbreon, but if I remember right, I do think I changed this if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah, here you can see I'm a little bit conflicted, and I do remember this too, because I was thinking, well, if I power up this Umbreon, I'm going to need to find the VMAX to go with it, whereas if I just power up this Hoopa, I don't need any additional Pokemon. So that is sort of the trade-off here. Because even though I have an Ultra Ball, if Corey were to Marnie me, I would still need to find a different way at finding that Umbreon. So I'm just going to go for the Hoopa for the moment. But it looks like Corey's deck over there is taken off. He has his Whimsicott VSTAR set up, and he is ready to start putting on some pressure of his own. Now, it is unfortunate that I did get that double turbo energy turn 1, because now his locking strategy isn't quite as effective had it been if I whiffed that attachment last turn. But nevertheless, Whimsicott VSTAR has 2 attacks if you guys aren't familiar with it. The first one for a Psychic and 2 colors does 160, and your opponent can't play any tools or special energy from their hand. So normally very strong against this Arceus deck. And then it does have a V-Star power for a Psychic energy. It is 60 times the number of energy attached to Whimsicott to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And here you can see Corey's just going to burn that V-Star power and take out the Crobat for a couple of easy prize cards here and take an early lead. So I'm kind of okay with that. So that's going to allow me to, even though Corey's going to jump ahead in the prize exchange, my board state is still just fine. So I'm going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of a Fighting Energy and a Training Court. Let's see what I'm going to grab here. Could grab Arceus VSTAR, could grab Umbreon. Looks like I'm thinking about Lumineon V here. The big thing is I want to knock out a Shadow Rider Calyrex this turn, because Whimsicott, it's going to be weak to metal. It's not as easy to one-shot something like that. So if I can knock out a Shadow Rider, I can get 3 prize cards and set myself up for just 1 more VMAX knockout to win. So let's see what I'm thinking about doing. Looks like I am eyeing down an Umbreon VMAX. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Of course, bring up that Shadow Rider Calyrex with the Dark Signal ability on Umbreon. And what else do I have? Okay, I have a Marnie in hand, so I don't really need too much else here for this turn. So there's going to be a Marnie. So at this point, I just want to find myself an Arceus VSTAR. That way next turn, I can threaten another boss knockout on another Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX if Corey evolves another one. And that's a pretty solid hand. Going into the next turn, I have boss right away. So if he does evolve another one and I can power up this Umbreon, if of course Corey doesn't return KO this Hoopa, I still have kind of a decent out to taking care of another Shadow Rider. But it looks like I am just going to go in with Hoopa V here. It's going to hit that Shadow Rider for weakness. Hoopa does 170, and then I place 3 damage counters on one of my Pokemon. So grabbing 3 prize cards, and I am going to put that 3 damage counters on Umbreon just because it has the most HP. It's probably the safest from being return KO'd. Because had I put the 3 damage counters on Hoopa, a choice belted Whimsicott could be able to return KO it. But looks like Corey's going to grab a Psychic Energy with his Fog Crystal. And I'll probably see him start to power up a Shadow Rider, which might seem odd since I can hit it for weakness, but it might be kind of necessary here. Because at some point he is going to need to be able to transition into Shadow Rider for the late game to take a big one-hit knockout. There's going to be Evolution Incense, probably grabbing another VMAX here. So Corey has to think, what does he want to do? He could attack into this Hoopa, which is definitely an option, but there is also a world where maybe he just goes for the KO with Shadow Rider if possible. See, there's going to be another Underworld Door. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Shadow Rider Calyrex, its ability allows you to attach a Psychic Energy from hand to one of your bench Psychic Pokemon and draw 2 cards. But right now Corey has 6 energy in play, so he's doing 190, which isn't quite enough to knock out this Hoopa, but if he has his Galarian Articuno in deck, he could actually get some more energy into play and take a return KO. And Umbreon would be 2 attachments away from getting powered up, so that is definitely a possibility. And Corey might even decide to go that route because that kind of puts him in like a checkmate scenario where he basically says to me, hey, you have to have the return KO here on this VMAX this turn, otherwise I'm just going to roll over whatever you promote on the following turn. So it's definitely risky because he's putting his 3 prizer in harm's way, but at the same time, if I don't have the Raihan or energy switches with Moltres and stuff like that, he's going to be able to take this game 1. And here you can see that Galarian Articuno in hand, so of course whenever he benches it, he gets to attach up to 2 Psychic Energies from hand, and now he's hitting for more than enough to deal with this Hoopa. So he's putting me on a 1-turn clock, as I said, but unfortunately he did not Marnie me, so I still have a game in hand right now, guys. So I have a couple different ways of pulling this off. I had Choice Belt plus double Turbo Energy, or I can just Raihan right here. So Raihan, of course, whenever one of my Pokemon was knocked out, I can attach a basic energy from discard to one of my Pokemon and search my deck for any card. So gonna have the return KO on the Shadow Rider, but definitely still a sketchy spot to be in if I did not have that big combo at my disposal. So the Arceus deck is going to take game 1 here, but of course, guys, we are going to be playing a best 2 out of 3 series. So Corey definitely has a shot at bringing it back here. And you could see, like, if I didn't find that double Turbo Energy on turn 1 to get off the attack, you know, things actually might have been looking pretty good for Corey. So we'll have to see how this game 2 is going to go. Like I said, I think the big thing comes down to, can the Arceus deck get its special energy into play before it gets locked? So let's see who's going to opt to go first here. I would imagine Corey would go first, but this is definitely a matchup where, you know, I've played a good bit of games with this, and there's definitely games where I feel like going second with Shadow Rider can be good too, because if you go second and you start with the Shadow Rider Calyrex V, it has an attack that can also lock special energy, so there is an argument to be made to go second and be able to play a supporter as well. But let's see how this one is going to go. It looks like I have a Ditto V that I'm starting with. Okay, yeah, and that's definitely a much better starter for Corey this game. No Crobat in sight. And likewise, I have a Ditto V over there. Not my preferred starter, but it's not that bad because it has an ability where it can get a Pokemon out of discard and switch it with it. So if I can put an Arceus in the discard, that's actually a way I can get Arceus into the active, which isn't too bad. But we're out the gate. Corey is going to be quick balling away Galarian Articuno to get a Whimsicott V. So we did see how important Galarian Articuno wound up being in the second game there. Or I'm sorry, in the first game. And discarding it is going to take maybe a big explosive turn with Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX, you know, off the table. But here, Corey is going to grab a Lumineon V, of course, a new Pokemon that allows you to grab a supporter card from your deck whenever you bench it. I don't know if Corey just forgot that he was going first this turn, but he will not be able to play whatever supporter he gets, so he may have forgotten about the first turn rules for a second. Maybe he thought he was going second. But yeah, he does not play the supporter. I do remember. We didn't let it get that far. So he did get his energy attachment for turn. That's definitely solid. And he's thinking about attaching an air balloon. And just a pass. So yeah, he definitely should have saved the Luminion for next turn. But again, if he thought he was going second, I could see why he would have gone for the Luminion there. But we're at the gate. I am going to discard a Dark Energy and an Arceus VSTAR. Dark Energy, great to pitch away. That way Moltres can get it back out of the discard. And here I am going to Ultra Ball away my Arceus V. As you guys can see, I'm sort of playing for that Ditto Transform play I was talking about. Now, one thing that is unfortunate, I am having to discard 3 Ultra Ball right out the gate, which means it might be hard to find my VSTAR or my Umbreon VMAX in the late game. Because this list only plays 4 Ultra Ball, there's no copies of Evolution Incense or any other ways to search out those Evolution Pokemon V in the deck. So from there, I'm going to play my own Luminion V, probably just grab a Professor's Research. I could go for a Marty and try to disrupt Corey's hand because I know he has a supporter card. But at the same time, I need to get set up myself, and I really just want to make sure I can get an attack off this turn before I start getting special energy locked. And yikes, that is not a good 7 cards to get with the research. A lot of switching cards and energy, but beyond that, not a whole lot. So I am going to transform into the Arceus V, so Ditto still kind of coming in clutch there. And I am going to get down a double turbo energy successfully before I start getting energy locked. And even though this isn't the best turn 1, or I'm not looking like I'm going to have a great turn 2 follow up, getting these energies out of deck at least means it's going to increase my odds of drawing into a draw supporter or a V-Star or something like that. So I'm still optimizing my chances of having a good turn 2 here. But Corey over there, he's going to play a Fog Crystal, grabbing himself a Shadow Rider Calyrex V. He is still going to need an attachment for turn, plus an Underworld Door, and a switching card if he wants to get all of this pulled off. So far, so good. He has his air balloon, so now he just needs the V-Star, the VMAX, energy, and another energy. Which shouldn't be too hard with how much energy this deck runs. There's going to be a Fog Crystal right out the gate here. And does he have the VMAX to go with it? And he does. Okay, cool. So we're going to see an Underworld Door down to Whimsicott VSTAR, drawing 2 more cards. He has Choice Belt even as well. And we see another Fog Crystal in his hand too. So yeah, Corey has everything he needs. He even has the Choice Belt to be able to hit for 190 if he so chooses to. Ooh, and he has an Escape Rope in hand. And this actually could be really big. And the reason why I say that is Arceus VSTAR is kind of a decent Pokemon to lead the game with here against Whimsicott because it doesn't really get knocked out. But Whimsicott can easily deal with these other Pokemon. If he does go for this Escape Rope and I promote Luminion, he can one-shot that. And even though Moltres has 220 HP, if he does 190 with that Choice Belt, well then if I attack with Moltres, it does 32 itself, which would knock it out. So effectively, the Escape Rope gives Corey a one-shot on whatever he decides, or on whatever I decide to promote. So yeah, this would actually be a devastating play for my deck. Yeah, so that is a little bit rough. And here you can see I'm a little bit torn. I'm leaning more towards the Luminion here. I don't think either option is particularly great. But Luminion is definitely the... Well, I guess if I did promote Moltres, I could always hard retreat into the Arceus V. But that seems kind of bad. So here I'm just going to promote the Moltres, and I do top deck a Marnie. And now I have a couple of options at my disposal here. Because of the energy that I have in hand, I could actually boss and bring up this Shadow Rider Calyrex V, taking a knockout on that. Or I could Marnie, try to find myself a V-Star, maybe an Umbreon, some other Pokemon to follow up this turn with. Because if I just attack into this Whimsicott, then it takes a return KO. Corey goes down to 2 prize cards before I've even taken a single prize. And that also doesn't seem like a winning strategy. But I think the Marnie winds up being the better play here. And I am not actually able to attach that air balloon. I do want to point out, I am going to correct that in just a second. But Whimsicott, you know, it usually think of Whimsicott for that attack that locks special energy, but it does also lock Pokemon tool cards. But like I said, I will address that in just a second. And here I'm just kind of thinking about boss versus Marnie, how the next couple turns are going to go, you know, if I do each one. But what is scary is that Corey does still have access to that V-Star power, and even if I find an Arceus V-Star to attack with, there is still a world where he can be able to power Whimsicott a little bit more and take a one-shot with that V-Star power. But here it looks like I am going to go for the boss play, and I don't think this is too great, honestly, guys. Like, getting 3 prizes definitely feels good. Like, don't get it mistaken, but I really think I needed to find a V-Star. I needed to find Umbreon V. I needed to get more stuff set up here. So definitely, I think in hindsight, I think this was not a good turn, or not a good play. Here you can see I'm debating if I do want to commit to the boss or not. Spoiler alert, I do wind up staying committed to it. But also, guys, these games are kind of just casual games for fun, and we're just testing, so me and Corey don't mind each other taking back like minor gameplay decisions like that. But like I said, I do stay committed to the boss, taking 3 prize cards, which is definitely good. And I do get an Arceus V-Star. That's also a solid card to get. But right now, I run the risk of my Arceus V getting sniped by this Whimsicott V-Star. So if Corey actually just attaches to the active and doesn't evolve into another VMAX, that's going to be really bad for my deck. And here, I think what we were talking about was like, in my head, I thought I just needed to take one more KO to win. If I bossed the Shadow Rider Calyrex, like I think I thought he had another VMAX on board or something like that. But I remember after that turn, it hit me, oh wait, I need 2 more knockouts, not 1 more. And that's when I realized, yeah, we shouldn't have bossed there. But hey, it is what it is, guys. That is why you test. But let's see how Corey is going to ruin my day this turn. So he has an air balloon for his Shadow Rider Calyrex V. And here we're going to see that V-Star power knocking out Arceus V on the bench. So very smart from Corey, not evolving into any more 3 prizers. And I mean, I have a Marnie, but at this point, like, what do I do? The Whimsicott can one-shot basically anything that I promote. The only Pokemon that it doesn't one-shot is going to be, I think, either Arceus V or Umbreon V. I think those are the only Pokemon that don't run the risk of a one-shot here. And I'm just debating, like, what do I do here? Is there even a point to playing the rest of this game out? But yeah, just going to go for the Marnie. And let's check out what I'm going to be able to find here. Let's see, Training Court, Ultra Ball, Aurora Energy, another Arceus V, so that's good. Unfortunately, no double Turbo Energy to go along with it. So there's going to be an Ultra Ball. Probably get rid of. Definitely Training Court. Could get rid of Aurora Energy as well. I think I might be debating hanging onto the Aurora Energy because if I do get an energy switch, that would allow me to get an attack off. But I am going to get rid of it because really I want a double Turbo Energy plus an energy switch. That's what I would rather see here. Here you can see I'm debating on going for the Umbreon V. Okay, I do have Crobat and Dex. That is also good. I could go for that. Here you can see I'm eyeing down Galarian Moltres because Galarian Moltres actually can hit for a solid amount of damage, but it definitely gets very easily return KO'd. So don't want to go that route. So I'm just going to go for the Umbreon, it appears. I don't think there's a great option. I kind of would have rather have seen me go for Crobat V, if I'm being honest. Like, bench the Arceus V. Crobat, draw some more cards here. But here I am going to use Training Court to get a Dark Energy back and power up this Umbreon V. Use the ability on Moltres to get one of those energies back attached. And I'm just going to hit this Whimsicott for 30, unfortunately. So there's the boss. Corey has game either way, but yeah, very, very dominant game for the Whimsicott deck there. You know, I think that escape rope play just changed everything. Had Corey not had the escape rope, I think this would have been a much more back and forth game. but that early KO just put me in such a rough spot for the rest of the game there. That in conjunction with me going for that boss play as well to take those easy 3 prize cards, I think that definitely sealed up the game for him pretty well there. So moving on to a game 3, we've seen both decks, do pretty well here, I'd say. So I definitely think this one could go either way. More than likely, I would assume I'm going to go first. It's hard to say. We experimented with some different games where one of us would choose to go second sometimes, or sometimes choose to go first. We'll have to see what route I'm going to go here. So let's see. Okay, but I am going to choose to go first here. Also makes sense, just to help get my deck set up a little bit quicker. I am going to attach an air balloon, it appears. Kind of debating what I want to do. Let's see. Going to bench the Galarian Moltres. I mean, there is even a world where I discard the Moltres with Quick Ball and transform Ditto into it, but Ditto is really nice for a couple of different reasons, so I do want to kind of leave the Ditto in play. I do have Crobat, so I also could discard Marnie. I think that is a safe option. And yeah, that is the route I'm going to go. I definitely like that, because I have the V-Star in hand. If I evolve into Arceus VSTAR next turn, that can find me a supporter if needed. And here I'm grabbing a V-Star, but I need to grab the V. That is the correct Pokemon to get here. So definitely still looking to be a decent first turn for my deck. I also have the Crobat to draw some more cards. I have that Aurora Energy, so ideally I'd like to draw into a Dark Energy as well. But there's going to be a Crobat, draw 4. Hey, first card going to be a Dark Energy, fantastic. And a double Turbo Energy, so really strong turn 1 for my deck here. So there's going to be a Quick Ball. Let's see, could see an Umbreon V. I do like that. And even though I don't have a supporter in hand right now, I do have the V-Star, and that can find me a supporter if needed. So really strong turn 1 for my deck. Definitely getting set up a bit better than I was last game. And I still have access to Moltres' ability here as well, so I can get that Dark Energy back out of discard and attached. Yeah. And from there, I imagine we'll just see a pass. So going over to Corey's turn, he is going to open with Galarian Articuno. Unfortunate, not his favorite starter, really. Definitely a Pokemon he wants to see in the mid to late game instead. But here right out the way, he is going to go for a Whimsicott V. Going to discard, looks like a Psychic Energy with that Quick Ball. So he is going to be able to get at least 1 Shadow Rider and 1 Whimsicott. And it is unfortunate, like, this is not one of those games where I was lucky enough to find my double Turbo Energy turn 1. And that kind of takes the option of going for an early special energy lock away from him. Because had I not found that double Turbo Energy, this would actually be a good turn to go in with Shadow Rider Calyrex V and start locking my energy. And here he does have an air balloon, but he is going to opt to hang on to that for the moment. Okay, there's going to be a Crobat. And let's see what else. He does have an attachment for turn. That's really important. We've also not seen a supporter from Corey just yet either. So let's see what he's going to go for. He has the Crobat. I'm sorry, he has Ultra Ball, so he could grab a Lumineon. Oh, but there's going to be a Research in hand. He's going to discard. So he must have another supporter ready to go already. So let's see what he's going to grab here. Looks like he's eyeing himself down Lumineon V. Okay, so it looks like he is really dead set on Marnieing me this turn, if that's the case. So he is going to opt to go for the Marnie. I mean, he did see me discard a Marnie on my turn. So, I think that's a good indicator that I have another way at drawing cards, which of course I do with that Arceus VSTAR. So I think there is merit to what Corey's doing here, but at the same time, I think I also kind of would have liked to have seen maybe just another Shadow Rider and a Research to see more cards. But let's see what's going to happen here. Okay, I think I see a Quick Ball. There's going to be a Training Court. And now Corey's bench is also a little bit clunked up here. This is another downside to going for that Lumineon. That's going to take away another bench spot for another attacker. And there is a world if I can chase down this Whimsicott V and knock it out, he's not going to be able to respond with a different one on the next turn. So again, this is a downside to Corey trying to go for the disruption with the Marnie there. It did cost him a bench spot in the process. But nevertheless, he still has the main Pokemon that he wants to play. Let's see how I'm going to respond. So there's going to be an Arceus VSTAR, Choice Belt, Attachment. Yeah, really good start to my turn so far. And there's going to be a Research as well. So I could have gone for a boss right out the gate, but I can always... And here it looks like I might be second guessing myself. I mean, I think Research is fine, but it looks like I might be eyeing down a Piers, because Piers could guarantee me the Umbreon VMAX. But I am just going to go for the Research. My thought process is, if I don't draw into Umbreon VMAX, I can always use this ability on Arceus VSTAR to get where I need to go. Okay, and I do hit an Ultra Ball, so I will be able to get the Umbreon VMAX here, while still seeing some extra cards in the process. Okay, so I am going to pitch away Fighting Energy and Energy Switch. Going to grab Umbreon VMAX, I would assume. Yeah, so now I'm going to be able to pull up that Whimsicott, knock it out with Arceus VSTAR, and accelerate some energy into play. Normally I would do 180 with that damage reduction from Double Turbo Energy, but because of Choice Belt, that's going to bump me back up to 210, knocking out poor little 190 HP Whimsicott. And yeah, this is a really good position to be in as the Arceus player. So I'm going to get some more energy out of deck. Could power up Umbreon VMAX, I think that's valid. I think it's one of my better attackers, honestly. Yeah, it looks like I'm just going to commit all the energy there. I think that's fine. Moltres can accelerate energy out of discard as needed to itself. And now Corey's in a bad spot because if he attacks with the Shadow Rider, Umbreon is on the bench there waiting to just take an easy KO. And yeah, this feels really bad. Him not having that extra bench spot to get down a second Whimsicott V really coming back to bite him here. And I know this is only turn 2, but what do you do at that point? I almost feel like the game is over, as much as I hate to say that. Ugh, and just a pass. I feel like I have so many ways at winning this game already that it's going to be rough. I can knock out the Articuno and then eventually knock out a Shadow Rider VMAX. Or I could Gust again and take another KO. And I have quite a few ways at doing that. Let's see. I have Piers in hand, so what I actually can do, I can transform Ditto into Umbreon V that's in my discard. Yeah, and then Piers for a second Umbreon. And basically just boss every turn for the rest of the game, essentially. So it looks like that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for Piers. That does allow me to find myself a Dark Pokemon and an Energy. So I'm going to grab a Double Turbo Energy right away, and also Umbreon VMAX to go with it. And if you're Corey, just like, what do you do at that point? That is so rough. So going to evolve into the Umbreon. The one thing that is nice about Ditto is that whenever you transform into a Pokemon, any effects that were already on Ditto carry over, so including how many turns it's been in play. So that's a really cool play you can do when you're playing these evolution Pokemon V as well. So yeah, just gonna boss up or gust up the Shadow Rider, take a knockout, get some more energy in play, and now, I mean, Corey doesn't really have a win condition, I don't think. I mean, he could attack with Galarian Articuno. It only gives up 1 prize, but it only does 120 maximum. And yeah, I think that's game over, guys. Now, he could attack with a Whimsicott V, and its second attack, I believe, does give it a damage reduction. And I think that's one of the only ways that Corey can take a hit here. But the attack on the base Whimsicott V, I believe, only does 90, if I remember right. And yeah, just a pass. So this is, I know, an anticlimactic game 3, but here I'm going to use that VSTAR power on Arceus VSTAR, searching boss's orders, bring up Shadow Rider, and we're going to go ahead and take a 3 prize knockout to wrap up this game 3. So yeah, the Arceus deck stumbled a little bit in game 2 there, but you can see, man, this thing absolutely demolished the Whimsicott deck in this game 3 here. Unfortunate way for Corey to go out, but nevertheless, guys, I do hope you enjoyed the series and checking out these new decks in action. Like I said earlier in the video, both of these decks were actually profiled on the channel as well, and I will have links to those down below in the description. But if you did enjoy today's video, remember to smack that like button, and if you want to take your support to the next level, you can also become a patron at patreon.com/rarecandytcg. or pick up some merch over at rarecandytcg.com. Links to those will be down below in the description. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.